Congruence. Two polygons are congruent if they have the same number of sides and angles, corresponding sides have the same length, and corresponding angles have the same measure. And to sum all of that up, we say that two polygons are congruent if they are the same shape and are the same size. Sides and angles are corresponding if they are in the same location in the figure. Congruent sides are shown with like tick marks, and congruent angles are shown with like angle arcs. This is the symbol for congruence. When making a congruent statement, the corresponding parts need to be in the same location in the statement. Example 1. Mark the angles and sides to indicate that the two triangles are congruent. So we're told that triangle ZYX is congruent to triangle SUT. So we're going to take a look at our congruent statement and simply follow the order of the letters. So the first angle we have is Z. For this triangle and for this triangle, it's S. So that tells us that angle Z corresponds to angle S, and they are congruent. And we use one angle arc. Now right beside that we have Y and then U. So for this one we're going to use two angle arcs. We can't use one angle arc because we've already assigned that to our first angle. So I'm going to use two angle arcs for the Y and two angle arcs for the U. That is showing that these angles are corresponding and they're congruent based on our congruent statement. And then finally, angle X is congruent to angle T. And we're going to use three angle arcs. Angle X, angle T, 2, 3. Okay, so that deals with our angles. And now we have to mark our sides. Now we're going to look at the statement the same way, except we're going to pick up two letters rather than one. So let's look, we have ZY and we have SU. So this is line segment ZY, and I'm going to use one tick mark. And then line segment SU is right here. I'm going to also use one tick mark. So that shows us that these two sides are corresponding and congruent. Next we see YX and UT. YX is right here. We'll use two tick marks. And then UT is right here. We'll also use two tick marks. So these are corresponding sides, congruent sides. And then lastly, we have ZX and ST. ZX, we use three tick marks, and ST, three tick marks. So we have now marked the triangles to show all of the corresponding parts. And congruent parts, I'm sorry. Example 2, name all of the corresponding parts. So we're gonna we're doing what we did in example 1, but instead of marking them, we're naming them. So again, we're just gonna go based off of the statement. So the first angles I see is angle D is congruent to what angle? Well, let's look at the first angle in this triangle, L. And then angle E is congruent to, that's the middle letter. So the middle letter here is M. And then lastly, angle F is congruent to the last letter, which is N. So as you can see, we really don't need the figure. We're mainly paying attention to our congruent statement, and we're just following the order. Now we're not finished. We've only done the angles. Now we have to do the sides. So line segment DE is congruent to, so DE is here, the first two letters. So the first two letters here are L and M. The last two letters, EF, EF is congruent to the last two letters here, which is MN. And then lastly, we'll take the first and the last. So DF is congruent to LN. And we have named all of the corresponding parts. Now lastly, example 3, write a statement that indicates that the triangles are congruent. Okay, so with examples 1 and 2, you can see that we were given the congruent statement. Well, now we're going to have to work backwards and find that congruent statement based off of the marked figure. So we know that in the middle, we're going to have our congruent symbol, and we're going to have one triangle over here and one triangle over here. So this is our setup. So we're going to first begin by naming our first triangle. So triangle, and what I like to do is just I find it easiest to follow my angle arcs. So here we have one angle arc, two angle arcs, and three angle arcs. So I will go LMT. So we have triangle LMT. So I'm going to simply follow that same pattern with the second triangle. We have one angle arc, two angle arcs, three angle arcs. So that will be MLN. So triangle MLN.